Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Enterprise AI in Action Roundtable. I'm Arseniy Tarasov, board member of EU Technology Chamber, AI Transformation Lead at BPS International, and also CEO of Hyperit. And the goal of these roundtables is to discuss real-life examples of AI adoption in the industry. So our first session is with Yuehan Wang, Global Research Director for Real Estate Technology at JLL. Welcome to our roundtable.
Thanks for having me.
So very interesting research. We will spend most of the time talking about it. But before we start, I would really like to speak a little bit about personal use of AI. So for example, I mean, of course, I use it all the time at the office, but last Saturday, my gas boiler at home went dead. It stopped working. The screen was blinking. There was some sort of error code. I had no idea what to do. So I made a short video, sent it to the LLM to identify the issue. So LLM gave me back the error code explanation. And also it realized that it was a water pressure problem, right? And then it showed me the video that actually explains what needs to be done. So basically in 2 minutes, the boiler was up and running. It's pretty amazing, right? So how do you personally use AI in your work?
This is a very good question because I'm starting to observe that not just myself and you, is just everyone start to try and use it in some aspects in their daily life and in their professional capacity. For me, I think the most interesting use case that I have now are basically 3 areas. So one is that I use it to help me conduct desktop research. And so this is something that recently becomes a more powerful function with AI agents become the key concept that people are trying to develop here. So
Right.
what I would do sometimes is that, for example, I'm doing research on AI agents, and I would like to know what existing information have been posted from several different angles. So what I can do now is that I organize my questions to a set of different questions, and then I use the deep research function offered by,
Right.
like ChatGPT has that function, some other providers,
Grok
Perplexity,
and
they also have
Perplexity,
something.
yeah.
Yeah. So what they do is that they will take my question and try to understand what I'm trying to get at, the context for this question, the reasons that I'm asking this, and they would list out, instead of just directly start giving me answers, they would list out the different angles or perspectives that they can dive
Right.
deeper into, and then go out onto the internet to search for those information and then summarize them into a short report.
Right.
And so this is something that would really help me in the initial data collecting phase to try to understand what's the existing conversations that's already happening. Especially with like newer topics that I don't yet know what detailed questions I need to ask, then this is a really powerful use case. Then another one that I also found very useful is I sometimes use it to help me make sense of data. So I'm in a research role, which means we need to process a lot of data in many cases. And sometimes you just need a more advanced analytics tools.
Right.
Before, I would code things up myself to run some more advanced algorithms. But right now, what I can do is actually asking the AI model to help me code up what I need to see. For example, if I take a data set of a particular market and I want to see the distribution on geolocation, I can just ask, could you help me do a screening of these parameters and write code to visualize them?
Right.
And we can do that.
That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
I think that speeds up your work maybe 3, 5, 7 times, right? Compared to normal way of doing things. Okay. Amazing. So now let's get back to your actual research. I mean, this is very exciting. I think one of the first one in the industry. So tell us a little bit how you collected information for this research, and maybe you can give some key insights before we go deeper.
Yeah, sure. Let me actually share my screen here. So The research that we published at the beginning of this year is a primary research that we run towards, well, mid last year in the data collection process, which is a global scale future of work survey, where
Right.
we managed to interview over 2,000 senior decision makers, meaning like from head of corporate real estate up until the C-suite leaders. And we're able to source these responses from 25 different markets globally and across 24 different industries. So we
Mm-hmm.
really want to gather that understanding from our industry, like where we are with regard to AI, what do we plan to do with it, and what are some of the systematic challenges that we observe across different industries. And
Right.
one thing that we can really confirm is that the C-suite leaders or the senior leadership, they generally have a very strong interest in AI, and they believe that it will change the way that the workforce operate and thus change
Mm-hmm.
how workplace and corporate real estate should solve their questions. And indeed, what we get is that we ask of these 11 key real estate related tasks,
Right.
what do you expect it to do with regard to AI? Do you want to use AI or do you want to rely mostly on manual work? And the
Mm-hmm.
result is quite a strong number, is that over 90% they expect to run their CRE function in a hybrid way with AI and tech supporting their human expert. We don't see many people want to stick to pure manual approach, but even fewer wants to fully automate. So that also addresses that many people's concern is that is adopting AI going to affect my job? And
Right.
what I see is that collectively we're moving towards the direction more to how we can use the tech to support us instead of how we can automate full processes that we can get rid of the human.
Right.
And
Well,
so
that's pretty exciting because it's both the combination and commitment of 90% of people to actually go ahead with that, which is pretty good. I mean, I remember internet adoption was much slower, for example, right? And here we see that 90% expect to run it. So that's really interesting. Okay.
this is a good observation. I would like to add on that, because previously we like to say that real estate industry is slow in technology adoption.
Hmm.
Indeed, comparing to industries
Financial
like
sector, yeah.
yeah, IT or financial services, we are slow. However, if you look on the timeline of previous generations of technology versus now, we have the speed of adoption has increased like a lot over the years.
Okay. So then let's talk about the Gartner Hype adoption cycle, right? It's a very well-known approach to understanding where we're at the moment. So tell us where we are, I think, from the real estate industry standpoint in this adoption cycle.
Yeah, because in our research and insights, what we found is that we are definitely collectively moving to the peak of expectation. And this is not just our gut feeling. This is supported by real numbers, as we can see that almost 90% of C-suite leaders believe that AI could solve major CRE challenges over the next few years. And there are actions that already started, which indicates also this is not just expectation. People are taking action and trying to turn that expectation into real results. And
Hmm.
that's where I would say we sit, approaching the peak.
Okay. Well, I think that the drop will not be so dramatic as it was a dot-com bubble burst. Um,
Well, hard to say because I think it's just a normal part of the any technology adoption process that people start to believe a technology is so powerful, they start to develop this unrealistic expectation
mhm.
to see something as the silver bullet. And when that is also why I mentioned actions have already started. And what that means is that collectively we will run into practical issues very soon. And that could range from incoherent strategies or just misunderstanding of the business case or the use case of AI and try to commit to something that's less realistic. And there could be also things happening like you have bad change management. The money you invested in are not really being
Right.
used properly. everything will start to happen, which means we need expect this trough of disillusionment. It is a natural process of any technology adoption.
It is. I agree. I mean, but I'm just talking about the gap between the highest point and the lowest point. And sometimes it's really dramatic. Sometimes it's pretty smooth, I would say. Okay. So you mentioned the use cases and the key business functions that are already implementing AI. So what would be your observations about, what is the most popular? What kind of use cases are the most popular, already adopted, and maybe on the horizon?
Yeah, so that is also a very good question because sometimes we just receive requests on where should I start? What should I do? What can AI help me do? Actually, I think we're confidently saying that there has been a range of tangible AI use cases being developed at the moment, and we see there's large tech platforms providers trying to support your workplace management, such as Microsoft and many other major tech suppliers. But also at the same time, we have a ecosystem of over 700 prop tech companies trying to develop point solutions to real estate specific use cases. And here I listed some of them. I can give you an example of what really is the difference. For example, in sustainability related energy control analytics and modeling, this is one of the more mature area. And what we can do is that we can pull together all the different data sources regarding your energy consumption and link that to your actual space utilization, how people use different spaces differently, and when can you expect people to come in a predictive manner. And also with the increasing computing power, in some markets, we know there is dynamic pricing on the energy price. And with the computation, you can actually calculate when can you preheat certain space with lower prices rather than just rely on just leaving a large margin to have your space heated the entire time.
Yeah, we also, I mean, in our business, we also help a lot with that big data collection because most of the buildings are really black boxes, right? And I heard that at a recent real estate conference in France, I mean, one of the two messages was we need more data, right? We need to transform those black box buildings into transparent systems with transparent operations and transparent processes. Okay.
Yeah, that's the data collection bit is a really interesting point because I also want to touch on its impact on workplace and occupancy. Because the real difference here that we can see is we can now turn a static AutoCAD file or PDF file into a machine readable format where you can link your window, your workstation, and different places to let's say who is using it, how can it be connected to your energy consumption calculation, your portfolio optimization algorithms. And that data processing functionality is really something that I personally see would create a difference in the data collecting phase.
Right, and this is really a breakthrough, considering how much time people waste on that data collection task. Okay. Let me ask you about the key benefits and the metrics that people use to analyze the success of AI adoption, but also I want to hear about the horror stories, right? What goes bad?
Well, I'd say we can talk about horror stories from several different angles. The first one is that what if you've done something wrong? For example, if I don't know how to properly do the protection on my data or the cybersecurity compliance structure, if I don't know anything about it, I might risk leaking my proprietary data into the public domain.
For corporate environments, that's a big thing. I agree 100%.
But at the same time, what people don't often consider, or it's not in the core of their understanding of risk, is the risk of not doing anything. Because I think with AI, we just discussed that the adoption speed, it gets higher with regard to any technology nowadays. And AI, it's something that requires any organization to go through a learning curve. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just a product that you can just purchase and start to use.
Right.
It rely on your digital infrastructure. It rely on your understanding of where the risk factors is and what kind of benefit that you can actually generate from it. And all of these knowledge needs to come from your own actions.
Right.
You need to build that understanding over time because AI is not going to go away. Let's just
Sure.
say that.
Yeah,
If
it's
you're
going to be
not,
with us forever.
might be, and until it was replaced by something that's more
By
powerful.
supercomputers. Yeah, super intelligence.
But
Okay.
like if you don't start to try and understand what it actually means for your business, you're risking actually being outcompeted by people who use it to do smarter decisions, and that you are not paying off your technical debts. That's
Right.
a word that's expression that I think it really resonates with many organizations because sometimes if you look at the basic foundational technology infrastructure, it could be the case that many fancy use cases are built on top of several static old Excel file. And
Yeah,
if
and
you
it's
don't
it's no go.
yeah, if you don't do anything about it and use this wave of AI adoption as an opportunity for you to pay off that technical debt and build up your capability to manage this, then it's harder to catch up later on, I have to say.
I agree. And then the next question would be, which is a consequence, right? What would be the influence of AI on the job market and actually the real estate customer requirements, right? Because I think that both the job market and what kind of buildings people would need with AI, it's all going to change. So how do you see it?
So, yeah, I think that's a very good question. First, I have to admit that no one could say for a fact that what exact impact of AI on the job market is, but there are several narratives that I personally think makes a lot of sense. The first one is that um, job changes definitely going to happen. With
Hmm.
old jobs destroyed, there will be new jobs created. And the internal job churn, if we do it right, it could potentially result in a net increase than decrease.
Right.
What we start to see now on the market is that back office clerical roles like basic data entry and bookkeeping and some like basic administrative tasks are the ones that we see being replaced now. Like pay attention, I'm saying task being replaces, not
Exactly.
necessarily people, because people you can acquire new skills, you can adjust where you
Absolutely.
are. But those tasks is now being kind of um, replaced, but at the same time, the more interpersonal roles and the roles that require strategic thinking and planning are the ones that's not even like threatened. They are being superpowered because you need a better grasp of the higher level understanding of the structure and also with interacting with other people to use AI and other tools properly. And
Right.
so that's what I would see this go. The net effect, it's still like waiting to see where how it unfolds. And what is the second?
How would this influence the requirements for real estate? I mean, do we need different buildings? Do we need more parking space? Do we need expensive Class A buildings or Class C buildings? How do you see that evolving?
So I think that is also a very interesting one because I want to actually show this slide because you mentioned how it has changed things in the past.
Right.
Indeed, it's technology have always been a change driver in different aspects of real estate, and you cannot really say that AI is doing all of the changes, but you can see these changes has something, well, it could be accelerated by certain technology. So what I'm showing here is that over the past hundreds of years, how have new technology given rise to changes in real estate? And that actually includes how reinforced concrete makes skyscrapers possible,
Mm-hmm.
and how shopping malls was really becoming a mainstream after the HVAC system becomes mature. And now, if we summarize all of these different aspects of changes, we can see that they are basically going into these 5 buckets. First is in the demand. What kind of user requirements is changing? For example, right now, what we're seeing, let's use office space as an example. So people would need higher quality space, not necessarily less space, but higher quality that we can actually deliver a more personalized experience.
Right.
Especially now that with the computing power, we can do that. Like how you can customize your environment, how you can use AI as your personal assistant when you try to book a meeting room or to find a place for your team to meet. The second one is the location, is where do these change happen? And right now we see like there's demand being driven by the AI industry, AI ecosystem itself, also the healthcare industry, financial services, all of this is being kind of boosted on the demand itself. And the first and secondary tech hubs, we see a strong increase in space demand because of this.
Right. Yeah.
And in the investment phase, investment methods and operating models, revenue models, we see that people are leaning towards more predictive analysis than
Mm-hmm.
using gut feel. And it also makes overseas cross-language transactions easier.
Right.
And then
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah.
yeah, on last 2 things, asset type and operations. Asset type is the changing forms and function of space. One very obvious change is the demand on data center and how this becomes
Oh, yeah.
like an investment focus for many real estate investors.
But also
And
energy. I mean, it's not only real estate, but also energy requirements, right, for this kind of
mhm.
data centers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the last one is how we use real estate to conduct our real estate operations differently, which we have already discussed a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about.
Okay. So we're getting to the end of our roundtable today. I have a final question, and this is really about how, right? So,
Mm.
I mean, your numbers, your research shows that AI is hot in the real estate industry, right? A lot of people are actually thinking about it. They're considering how to move forward. For example, in our company, in BPS International Group, we made a commitment to become an AI first company. And I have become AI transformation lead. So the person who is responsible for driving this forward at the board level and then, pushing different initiatives and tasks. So what would be your recommendation, right? So let's say the C-level executives and the board made the decision to move ahead.
Mhm.
So what are the next key steps and stages in the enterprise AI adoption initiative?
So I would really recommend or advocate for a systematic approach, started by building a solid understanding of where the AI capabilities actually sits, by
Mm-hmm.
checking the current market offerings and to know what are the opportunities and risks, and then to recalibrate that on your business objectives. So I think for users, you never should use a technology for the technology's sake, but that you need to use it to solve problems. And so that's what I would recommend do. Identify meaningful use cases that could deliver value for your challenge and select a few to build that business case, run pilots to learn from trying it out and to see what works and what doesn't. And that could really help you to have a solid understanding and a plan for next steps.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What we've been doing as well, we looked at the 5 key kind of areas of initiatives. It's about developing a product for ourselves or for the market. It's really looking at the big data as your key asset, as well as finance and HR, for example. Making sure that the corporate culture, which is a key, absolutely key foundation for AI transformation, is important. And then the other two would be the way how we interact with customers and the market, right? Both outgoing and incoming, as well as internal processes. I think in the internal processes, AI will play a huge role. And I mean, I'm sure that we will see some companies with one or two people running a multi-million-dollar businesses. Right now, AI companies generate tens of millions of dollars with teams less than 20, 30 people. So that's an amazing approach to being efficient, to being successful in this market. And I think that in the real estate, we will see that as well. All right. So Johan, many thanks for this conversation. I would be very interested to follow on your next researches and learn more about your future research.
Thank you so much. And we are actually working on some primary research this year to get a better understanding of how we can use AI in a meaningful way. So.
Fantastic. So, and dear listeners, if you'd like to share your experience in the enterprise AI adoption in action, please reach out to us in LinkedIn, and have a great day, everyone. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.